Everybody to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a Marvel Rivals tier list for season 6.5. Just to give you a bit about myself, I've been playing this game since day one. I am level 88 in the game. My main character is Hawkeye, who's level 27, and I have 9 lords, including Venom, Hulk, Magneto, Hawkeye, Wolverine, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Mantis, and Jeff, with a few characters very close to Lord, including Cap, Penny, and Cloak and Dagger. So we'll just jump straight into it. I will preface the whole tier list just by saying that at this point in the game, triple support teams and poke and sustain are still very strong. It's going to play a factor in how I weight some of the dive and brawl characters. Don't be discouraged. These characters, some of them are exceptionally good for those that have put the hours into them, but for the vast majority, 80 to 90% of us, if you try picking up this character, it's going to be really difficult. And I'll go into that a little bit in the tier list. So starting off with our first category at the very bottom, it is called Vibes. And we're going to be putting Black Panther there. So, Black Panther is one of these characters where I have seen absolute monsters play him that, just them alone is enough to cause enough disruption to your team that you're going to lose. Just that one character, but again, 80% of people are not that guy. So Panther is very difficult. You need to execute all his combos perfectly in order to get a kill. I feel like he needs a damage buff or something. But again, if they buffed him, people would just complain because dive is one of the most annoying things to deal with in the game. He basically has to throw a spear dash, do his kick, and do all that stuff perfectly on a squishy 250 HP strategist just to kill them. It's not very effective. So for that reason, I put him at the very bottom. It just requires way too much work. He's got too much of a skill ceiling for him to be higher up on the tier list. All right, so we'll put Panther there, and above Panther, I'm going to be putting our good friend Zaza, Black Widow. Black Widow is, so for somebody like myself who mains Hawkeye, you would think I would like this character, but I don't. I mean, I'm used to one-tapping people with Hawkeye, whereas Black Widow takes maybe 2-3 shots to kill somebody. She doesn't really have a good defense against dive. She just has her grapple and her kick, and you have to just execute that really effectively and try and get a headshot. Her melee is pretty lackluster. Her ult isn't that great. The slowing ult with the plasma explosion, I feel like it's good for delivering a finishing hit if you're going to shoot it at a target that's got around half life or so. But other than that, nothing to write home about. I keep Black Widow here in Vibes, just above Black Panther. And above Widow, I'm going to put a character that I have lorded and love, which is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is one of the more difficult characters to play. Like Black Panther, you really have to master his combos. Where he's most effective is if he can swing and try and pull somebody off the map. So he is a little map dependent in that sense. If you don't have a map that has pits accessible where he can do that, he does lose a little bit of his value. And just like Black Panther, I feel like he just needs to do a little bit more damage. You got to just do too many things in perfect sync to kill somebody. His ult is amazing, much better than Black Panther or Black Widow's ults. You can just dive into the backline, throw his ult up, and you can kill a couple of the healers that way. But yeah, just too much of a high skill ceiling, too easy to kill. There's a lot of hit scans that can hit him in the air. There's a lot of characters like Emma and stuff that'll just choke slam him if he gets near. So very difficult to be effective at. And that would be everything for the Vibes category. Just those three. Moving on to C tier. At the very bottom of C tier, I'm going to be putting Scarlet Witch, who is right here. Scarlet Witch is a great character to pick up if you're brand new to the game. She's so easy to play. You just hold down the trigger and do her attack, and it just automatically targets people. Does quite a bit of burst. as well. But in terms of being able to deal with her, it's pretty easy. Can run her down. She has that little phase ability that helps her escape, but really squishy, really easy to hunt down. Her ult is absolutely monster if executed correctly. You have to pretty much hit it, and then you have to like hide behind something and then just like pop out at the last moment, because it literally takes like 10 business days to execute her ult. So many different characters can cancel her, whether that be Penny with her web, or like Rogue with her skill stealing ability. So there's many ways to just completely cancel her ult, because it takes like 4 or 5 seconds to pull off. So yeah, I would put her at the bottom of C. Excuse me. And then above Scarlet Witch, I'm going to be putting Magic, our good friend Kingsman there. Magic is just like one of these 100% brawl type characters where I just feel like they just get caught off on position really easily. Where Magic benefits is her portal and her overshield. She's quite hard to kill in that sense, because she can just keep popping that portal, getting that overshield. And good Magics will be dropping a demon down every time they do. Trying to avoid the whirlwind sword strike. That's really good for like finishing somebody off if you're in a fight, but you definitely want to use the demon more. And her ult, although it can be effective, like if you charge up the ability where she shoots something out of her sword and then you do the dash right after, she can pretty much one hit people. But very easy to kill her when she's in her ult. Okay, so above Magic, I'm going to be putting most disappointing character in the game, which is Blade. This is one of these characters I was super excited to play when they released. I was looking forward to it. I loved watching Wesley Snipes in the Blade movies. This is one of those, like, one of my favorite Marvel characters. But yeah, it turns out in Rivals, he's really not that great. I mean, his ult is good if you throw that down in a cluster of enemies, if you're in a hallway or something. It does charge up really quick. His shotgun is really effective. He's kind of like a sustain brawl hybrid, something like Deadpool would be as well, because you have the sword and the gun. But his sword I find really lackluster. It's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. You just have to beat him down forever to kill him. And when you're using the lifesteal, although it's great in certain 1v1 scenarios, in big team fights where you need the heals, it reduces your healing, and I just feel like it doesn't steal that much life anyways, and you just kind of go down really quickly. So I would put Blade kind of around the same category as like a Magic, but maybe on par, if not a little bit higher. Above Blade, I'm going to be putting Iron Fist. Iron Fist is one of those characters who is victim to the power creep. In Season 0, he was one of the strongest characters. When I was first starting to play my main Hawkeye, he was actually my most hated character to go against. He would just run me down every time. He's got some really cool features to him, like he does a lock-on auto attack. He has his own healing. He has amazing movement tech, so you can run on the walls. You can jump, I think it's like 3 times. I think the movement alone is why I would give him a big nod. He definitely gets some extra points for that. But that's also why he's a part dive character. So he's like he would be categorized as a brawl dive, and dive characters typically do get a little bit more movement. So yeah, I think I would prefer to play him over a Blade or a Magic, but he's still in my mind one of these characters that gets caught off positioning really bad. Like, he throws his ult down, and just like Magic, he goes into like some super form, but he can be bursted down really quickly, or CC'd. So yeah, I would put him at the higher end of the C tier. After Iron Fist, I'm going to be putting Mr. Fantastic. Where are you, Mr. Fantastic? There we go. Yeah, so Mr. Fantastic, I probably would have rated lower than this prior to his buffs that he received, where like when he goes into the inflatable state and he comes out, he's max life, or just stuff like that. Like, he didn't have that prior, but definitely having those types of buffs really enhanced him a lot. He is kind of more of like an off tank character, so he would be described as 100% brawl, but he does have quite a bit of survivability. So I think closest to his kind of category would be Wolverine, I believe. Yeah, him and Wolverine are almost kind of like tanks, not really, but they're I would consider them like, yeah, off tanks. Off tanks would be a good way to describe it. And he's got great range on his physical attacks. His ult is really great if you're going to throw it down into an area that has a low ceiling, because then he can just kind of bounce up and down really quickly and do a lot of burst damage that way. Great for shielding. He's got that move where he can just basically go invulnerable and absorb damage, so you can really counter a lot of different ults with that. So his kit overall is pretty good, but you don't see a lot of him, and he's actually, I think, the most rare character to Lord. You won't see many Lords for Fantastic. Okay, so above Mr. Fantastic, I'm going to be putting Ultron. Where is Ultron? Ultron did receive some buffs via his double drones. Having those two drones makes a big difference. They changed the way that his shield works as well. But yeah, he's one of these kind of characters where you're kind of just strategically moving your drones around, and you're trying to make picks on other characters and hit them with your laser. I don't like him. I don't find him, in terms of all the strategists in the game, I don't find him to really rank in the same category as a lot of them. Like, I just feel he's, for one of the characters that was newly added to the game, I would have expected more from him, because, like I said, there's been a lot of these new characters have had a power creep, and they've been really, really strong, and they've had to be nerfed. He was kind of the opposite. He came out, was really, really weak, and had to be buffed. So yeah, I would put Ultron there. Above Ultron, I'm going to be putting our good friend, most annoying character in the game, Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl has a really low skill ceiling. You just sit there and you just bounce the nuts off the wall, stand really far back, shoot your slingshot. Someone tries to get close to you, you root them, you jump, you refresh, you root them, you jump. So she's got some good abilities to get away from dive and brawl style characters, and she does quite a lot of sustained damage. She's a great pick if you get locked into your spawn. You just take Squirrel Girl and you just start shooting while you're in spawn, and it's pretty effective for that. But yeah, I wouldn't rank her very high. Pretty effective, low skill ceiling, very easy to kill. But yeah, not one of my most favorite characters, to be honest with you. Squirrel Girl. Above her, we're going to be putting Human Torch. Human Torch is great for sustained damage. You can stay pretty far away. You can throw fire down all over the ground. His shotgun attack mode, where he shoots at pellets of fire, is particularly dangerous if he gets up close to you and he starts getting a few headshots. But he's one of these more like clanky flyers where like he's just kind of slow. He's slow. He's easy to hit with hit scan. Easy to pick off. His kind of sprint for his flying mode is kind of a bit of a joke. It's kind of like a bit of a limp dick movement ability that he has, where he's like kind of half fast. He's not as fast as an Iron Man or a Star Lord or even an Adam Warlock now, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he's got a tremendous ult. His ult, I would say, is his best feature. Those fire tornadoes are really effective, especially if you catch a team in a small area where they can't escape. So yeah, I would be putting him at the higher end of C tier. Above Human Torch, I'm going to be putting Iron Man. Iron Man is a character that I've lorded, and where are you, Iron Man? Here he is. He's great in the sense that like a Squirrel Girl, like if you're stuck in spawn, just pick an Iron Man and just start blasting the other enemy. he can sit pretty far back and just lay down shot after shot after shot and do enough damage to the enemy team that he causes a bit of a disruption. I think he lost a lot of power when. So before Angela, he used to get bullied, just absolutely bullied by Spider-Man. But now that Angela's out, he gets bullied by Spider-Man and Angela. And I would say he also gets bullied by Phoenix and Hela and any of these hit scan type characters. I do like his movement. He's really, really fast, one of the fastest characters in the game. Um, I do love his ult. His ult is especially effective if you're going to sneak up behind enemy lines very quietly and then just throw it down like without being seen within the 1 second or 2 seconds of his animation to execute it. Usually the enemy can't react quickly enough if you snuck up behind them. So yeah, I would say his ult is probably one of the best parts of his kit. His beam is really great. Sorry for doing a lot of quick burst damage to tanks, but you have to get in really close, which leaves him pretty vulnerable. So yeah, I would say of the flyers, like him, Torch, and Ultron are a couple of the weaker ones, I would say. But I definitely like Iron Man. I still like him even though I wouldn't consider him one of the stronger characters. Okay, so moving on, that's everything from C. We're going to move into B tier, starting with the very bottom of the B tier list. I'm going to be putting Mr. Deadpool DPS. He's actually not as bad as I think people make him out to be. He's still pretty effective at laying down a lot of damage via that sword throw move that he has, especially once you upgrade it and he starts throwing it and then procs it and throws it again and throws it again. Like any of the Deadpool characters, he gets more effective the more upgrades you do. Usually with him, I will try and upgrade his guns first every time. And then after guns, I'll do the swords. And then after the swords, I do either the area of effect skill that he has, or I do the, for healers or DPS, I do the sword throw. And then I'll do like the upgrade that allows him to kind of bunny hop and refresh his cooldown on his dash. It's kind of like the priority of how I upgrade him usually, and then the rest doesn't really matter. I kind of do that afterwards. But yeah, he's decent. His sword throw is decent. His guns are decent. I wouldn't put him as good as Tankpool. The lower HP really does make him quite vulnerable. But yeah, that sword throw is pretty effective. And then the ult. Well, the ult is the ult. If you're using it effectively, you'll be casting it with your guns on characters like Punisher when they ult, or characters like Moon Knight or anybody who's got to hit somebody long range, because you can burst them down pretty quickly with that ult if they're missing their shots. And then yeah, his sword ult, it has some good uses. If you're fighting on point, he can survive quite a long time, but the damage on it is not that great. Okay, so above Deadpool DPS, I'm going to be putting Wolverine. Wolverine is one of the first characters I mained, I think right after Hawkeye. I got him to Lord. I love him. He's great for bursting down tanks. He's a tank's worst nightmare. If you build up your rage and you kind of get behind enemy lines, you can pretty much wipe their whole team with your ult. I like to kind of do his feral jump, grab somebody, pull him all the way to the strategist, then turn around and hit the ult, and you scoop up everybody at once. But yeah, he was made a little bit less effective with certain buffs to certain characters like Groot, whose wall gave him a CC immunity. Could be quite hard to land on Angela or Cap when they pull their shield out, and just with the sheer amount of movement that they have. So any of those kind of divey type Vanguards, Groot, Thing, obviously you can't grab him because of his passive. So yeah, he's like I said with Mr. Fantastic, he's kind of like an off tank. So you can live with him. He's got quite a bit of survivability, but you have to know when to peel away from fights. You can't just go straight at them. You've got to kind of hide around corners sometimes and pop out at the right moment. So I would have rated him in A prior to Angela coming out and prior to Groot getting his buffs. But yeah, so I would put him at B. After Wolverine, we're going to be putting our good friend Storm. Where are you, Storm? I love Storm. I think she's underrated. I feel like a lot of people don't play her. She's very effective when you get close and you put on the lightning storm and it just starts proccing lightning on the target. And then you can throw your lightning at them. You can basically burst them down really quickly if they get close. You want to be using her movement speed buff, which is the wind. Most of the time, you're going to be using that anytime you're attacking the enemy from far away and you're kind of sitting in your back line. You're only really switching to the DPS buff with the lightning when people get close to you or when you're close to the enemy. She has a really great ult. Her ult, that tornado, is really great dive ult. You can take out at least one or two of their backline with it. And if you do happen to get a team up with Jeff, you can wipe the whole team. It's still super overpowered and broken. All right, so after Storm, we're going to be putting Namor. Namor is, to me, kind of like a Penny in the sense that you can really nullify a lot of his abilities just by killing his squids. You know, kind of like with Penny, you can just, if you have a decent sustain or poke character that can just kind of look around a corner and destroy the nest, you really just kind of render that character a lot less useful. He does still do quite a bit of damage just on his primary attack. He's got his bubble to escape divers, but usually they can just wait till he pops out and then finish him off. His ult is great in the sense that if you have good targeting with it and you throw it down correctly, it is going to kind of CC people in that area for a second or two, which is usually enough to tilt the fight in your direction. But yeah, I think he's pretty mid, pretty average to me. I don't play him very often. All right, so after Namor, I'm going to be putting Punisher. Yeah, Punisher is still a pretty good pick overall. I mean, I still think he's the best sustain. Between him and Moon Knight, he's the best sustain damage DPS. His ult is really effective. You can, if you are able to shield him with Magneto or Invis or keep him alive and just make sure that your healers are focusing him when he ults, you'll find that he will do the rest of the work and really pretty much wipe out the team. His shotgun is still crazy overpowered and can maybe two tap or even one tap squishy enemies or two or three tap heavier enemies. His turret again is great, just laying down that sustained DPS. It really creates a lot of space for your team to work. So yeah, I think he's, of those sustained style DPS, he's obviously, I think he's best in class, or if not second best in class. Okay, so coming after Punisher, we are going to be putting Thing. Thing is really great for countering your characters like your Wolverine or anybody who relies heavily on CC because of his passive. He really does require you to kind of get into the middle of the fight, which is why he is difficult to play. He is one of those 100% brawl style characters. So yeah, he does utilize a lot of shield and overshield from his charge and his charge up punch, but very easy to burst down if you have Hawkeye or Hela or somebody on your team. They can take him out pretty easily with a couple head taps. His CC ult is really effective, but aside from that, yeah, I would put him pretty average, smack dab in the middle. After Thing, I'm going to be putting Rogue. Rogue is one I've been playing a lot recently, but again, she's another one of these 100% brawl style characters that have to get right into the middle of the fight. You have to know when you peel back. You have to have awareness of where your healers are, and that is the tricky part. There's still a big discrepancy in this game between the whole positioning of strategists and vanguards, where there's a big debate about Strategist saying like, oh, I can't see you, like you need to move so I could heal you, and Vanguard's being like, well, you need to move up because like you need to heal me. And really where I stand with that is I think that I side with the Vanguards on that one. I think Vanguards do create the space and they lead the charge for the team. Um, and your strategist should be following them to heal. With few exceptions, you obviously don't get too far ahead of yourself. You have to know as a Vanguard when to peel and when to go back to your team, and that's really why they are so difficult to play. Um, but yeah, she's quite difficult. Her ult is great. It consumes ult charge from other enemies. She does quite a bit of burst damage with her combo. I like to kind of go in with the AoE combo that pulls them to you. So I'll hit that, then I'll do my flip kick, and then I drop down immediately, and then I press my my area of effect skill again, so it draws all the enemies to me, and then you can execute a couple of those quick kicks that came from your flip attack. Get your shield, get your charge. So you just kind of you have to really master the combo, and you have to. It's all about positioning with characters like Rogue and thing. All right, so after Rogue, I'm going to be putting Penny. Where is Penny? Penny Parker. Penny Parker, I would have rated higher if not for the loss of her Rocket team up. That Rocket team up really made a huge difference for the character having two nests. In saying that, I've come to learn some new ways of playing Penny with just the one nest, which really just involves. So her character is really big on kind of controlling the lanes of the fight and the areas that the enemy can approach you from. So nest positioning is really key. Throwing down a web on maybe an adjacent wall that the enemy is walking by and sticking at least 3 or 4 mines on it is really effective. So it's not just and hear this, Penny Parker players, it's not just the nest that you're using. It's the web and the mines on other areas that you want to throw them. So you want to throw them on, like I said, areas the enemy's walking by, areas on adjacent walls. You have to kind of, as Penny, think of where the enemy is going to be walking through, anticipate, throw webs and mines there, and then use your spider nest effectively. Her ult is still pretty lackluster, I would say, but does create a ginormous distraction. And when it does come to the final moments of the fight and you're in overtime or you need to grab the point, I do find it shines most there. Very close to Lord on Penny, but it's felt pretty grindy lately, so I put it down. Okay, so after Penny, we are going to be putting Mr. Hulk. Hulk is really one of the harder tanks to play. You've got to jump around a lot and you've got to switch targets a lot. You have to know when to peel. He gets burst down really quick. His shield is super effective. I think they should reduce the cooldown on it. His exile is really great for canceling ults and CCing people. So, if Wanda comes and does her ult, you can exile her. I don't like his ult. It still feels really janky. I just feel like he feels way too slow on his ult. He should have like a bit of a movement speed boost. But basically, yeah, you just want to kind of, the best way to use it is to either create a giant distraction, absorb a bunch of damage, and hope that it tilts the fight in your favor for your team, or basically try and like single target somebody and juggle them, which is kind of the act of doing the clap, then the melee, then the jump, then the clap, then the melee, then the jump, then the clap, then the melee, then the jump, and on and on and on, which is kind of ridiculous that he would even have to do that many times as Monster Hulk. He should really be able to kill people in a couple hits, but they do have to keep the game balanced. So, so I would put Hulk there. This is a character I would really love to see them buff and do something with. After Hulk, I'm going to be putting Venom. So both these characters, Hulk and Venom, I've got Lord on. Venom is got a much lower skill ceiling than Hulk. If you want to play a dive Vanguard, you just swing in, you dive at the strategist, you throw out your your symbiote ability where you stick to them and then you just kind of hit them with the spikes. You try and get headshots and you pepper in some melee attacks in between those, and you just try and beat them down really quickly. Um, and if you get too low, you pop your shield and you try and get out of there. So what I like about him is his ability to escape, just like Hulk. You can target and you can get away really quickly. His ult is very effective. If you throw down the sticky spikes or whatever of his symbiote, wait a couple seconds, pop the ult. You can sometimes one-shot people. It's also really good if you just like if a Monster Hulk came at you, you could use your Venom ult on Monster Hulk, and you're going to absorb a crap ton of HP because that ult from Venom increases his HP based on the targets that you hit. So if you hit a Strategist versus a Vanguard, you will notice a difference in your HP after ulting with Venom. Okay, so after Venom, I'm going to be putting one of my new favorites, actually, Captain America. Cap is really good. I find him super disruptive. He's like what a Spider-Man would be if Spider-Man wasn't so easy to kill. You can get right in the back line just with the shield, just thung, 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 just, throwing it everywhere, just beating them up, not doing a ton of damage, but also not being able to be killed because you can sprint forever and you can sprint while you have your shield up, which you should be doing if you're playing Cap. And I don't like to use his dive to get into the backline. I like to use his dive abilities to escape. So I usually will just run in, shield up, hop around, find the backline, beat him up, and then if I need to run, then I will use the shield slam and the dash to get out of the fight. Or I'll use the shield slam to just finish a target off if, let's say, they're 10% HP or something. He's very good. He's definitely one of the better of the dive Vanguard. So him, Hulk, Venom, and Angela. I would say he's one of the better ones. Okay, so after Captain America, I'm going to be putting Strange. Strange gets his place above these dive tanks because, well, he's really counter to the current meta, which is sustained poke with his shield. His shield allows your team to push and kind of mitigate a lot of damage. He's really, really easy to play. Like one of the easiest Vanguards. You can hit people from pretty far away with his primary. His ult, crazy effective. You just pop it and CC the entire team, and then the team can get wiped out. He's got his portal. A lot of people will play him as a character they just pick at the very end of the game if they're losing, just to pull his portal off. But yeah, he's pretty effective. Got a great ult, and I didn't really talk about Cap's ult, but Cap's ult's really good as well with the overshielding on it. It is very much like another support ult. So yeah, after Strange, I would be putting Thor. Thor is one of those tanks. He's actually one of the few tanks I don't really play often, but I do see him in a lot of games, and he is really difficult to play. He does a ton of burst damage. He can now pull you back to his team, kind of like a Wolverine with those recent buffs that he had. Yeah, I just find, I don't know what it is about him exactly, but he can just keep doing that Rune Awakening over and over and over and just doing so much burst damage. He can pull flyers out of the air using his that Thunder AoE thing that he does. So if he just charges up his hammer, flies at them, hits the lightning skill, can drop flyers right out of the air, does a ton of damage with his hammer, does a ton of damage with his lightning. His ult can catch you off guard a lot. So I would put him at the very top of B tier. Okay, moving on to A tier. Starting at the very bottom, we're going to be putting Emma. So Emma is still one of the stronger tanks. She's like an anchor, I would say an anchor / brawl mix, because she does that range damage with her psychic ability, and then she's got the diamond form with the combo and the choke slam if you get close to her. She really deals with dive pretty effectively. Like she'll beat up your Black Panthers, your Spider-Mans, your Captain Americas, just with that choke slam. and all the damage that she does in that quick burst combo. And she has, obviously, with the psychic ability, she's got her shield, so she does fare really good against the sustained poke meta. She's still on top. I would say she's been A or S tier the entire time she's been out in the game. All right. Oh, and also her alt. Her alt is great. Similar to like a Thing or Doctor Strange. The CC alt, like the mass CC alt, is crazy effective, especially when you combo it with other characters' alts on your team. All right, so moving on from Emma, we're gonna put Angela. Angela is my absolute go-to nowadays to deal with Iron Man. If I see an Iron Man or any kind of a flyer who's being disruptive, Angela is who you want to take. She is their 100% counter. They really can't do much when you come flying at them with the shield up at full speed, and then you hit them with that charged up primary, which does like half their life in one shot. Her ult is really cool. I love grabbing like a Vanguard and just diving and up into the air and throwing it onto a wall and kind of like tethering them to the wall. I find it has some really good CC effects, or just throwing it at the back line, diving into it, and just beating them up with your axes. But yeah, she's a kind of Vanguard that, like, usually they're known for taking a lot of damage, but with her, you're going to be flying around the map a lot, and you're going to be treating her much like a Spider-Man would. Trying to make picks on Vanguards, pull them from their team into your back line, or take out their strategists, or whatever the case may be. You're usually flying in from the side, flanking, or from behind, and you're trying to kind of go in unnoticed and make a quick KO that's going to tilt the match in your favor. So I would put her and Emma in the A tier category, and above I'm going to be putting Invis. Invis is great. She did have that little bit of a nerf to her shield, which was honestly needed because she was so overpowered. But yeah, she could still effectively deal with a lot of characters 1v1. She can escape with her invisibility jump. She can push people away. She is very good against Angela. She can drop flyers out of the air with her, can't remember what that ability is called, but that little orb she throws. And she does have one of those healing circle strategist alts, which is really, really big. Okay, so moving on from Invis, I'm going to be putting Loki. Loki is one of the ones you're going to want on triple support, and because that is such a meta, he definitely has his place in most teams. He's very good anti-dive because of his healing lamps. Very good at just getting away from being attacked, because you can just port to one of your clones, you can go invisible, you can walk away, throw a lamp down. He's a very anti-dive style healer. And yeah, you can copy other healing alts. Like you could copy Invis's healing ring and get another strategist alt. It does quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of healing if your aim is really good and your placement of your clones is really good. Okay, so moving on from Loki, I'm going to be putting our server admin Bucky. Bucky's just one of these like really low skill ceiling characters where you can be really effective. Does a lot of burst damage, takes tanks down easy, takes DPS, takes strategists down, takes everybody down easy, especially when you start getting headshots. And yeah, his grapple is game changing. You can pull people out of their alts like Wanda. You can grab flyers out of the air. You can pull tanks from their front line to your back line just by pulling them, turning around, then doing the uppercut. His alt is pretty devastating. Like I've had times where I've done that 10 plus times in a row and just wiped out the entire team. So yeah, I would say he's still very, very strong and has been an A or an S tier character the entire time in the game. Okay, so moving on from him, we're going to do Moon Knight. Moon Knight is really good lately. His alt can be the make or break difference between winning or losing a game. If you're in overtime and he just throws that on top of point, everybody kind of has to clear out, unless you have like another strategist alt to kind of counter it. Does a crazy amount of damage. If you have characters like Loki that have clones, uh, it makes his attack just bounce between everybody even more. Um, yeah, and he just can sneak up on you so easily with his grapple and his ability to get on top of things and get higher up. He can really sneak up on you, throw that onk down, and burst strategist down very, very quickly. So yeah, Moon Knight, very scary. Put him in A. After Moon Knight, I'm going to be putting Star-Lord. Star-Lord's another one of those ones who's got a really, really good ult, and it charges up really quickly, and you can easily get 2-3 kills off it each time. He's got incredible movement. He's like a sustained dive style character, so he can fly into the enemy backline really quickly. He can do his kind of uh, gunslinger dance that he does, where he shoots guns everywhere and does like a 360, um, and does quite a bit of damage, especially if you're getting the headshots. So Star-Lord is definitely high up in the ranks at this point. Okay, so after Star-Lord, I'm going to be putting Hela. Hela's one of those characters who's kind of always been an A or S tier. Just, it's really just all about aim with Hela. Most of her effectiveness just comes from her primary attack. She's very good against flying characters because of her hit scan ability. And yeah, just does a lot of damage, and all you have to do really is shoot the primary. I do prefer Hawkeye to her, just for his one tapping potential, and I just like the feeling of holding the trigger before I release it to get the kill. Whereas with her, I feel because you're like doing one click to throw a shot down, it's so easy to miss with her. But yeah, when you're making those hits and your accuracy is good, she is absolutely devastating. All right, so above Hela, we're going to be putting Hawkeye. Um, I don't think a lot of people would agree with me on this one. I think most people would say Hela's better, but I personally prefer Hawkeye. I find it's easier to aim with him. I feel he does more damage in one shot, and he does have. I guess I like his kit better in terms of getting away from divers, like his slash that knocks people back and his jump. Obviously, yeah, Hela's got her crow ability as well to help her escape, but I do feel he's got a little bit more movement tech and he's just a little tougher for some reason. I do like standing near pits as well if a brawler is coming at me and just kind of turning around and slashing them and knocking them off the map. Yeah, Hawkeye is always a good time. Okay, after Hawkeye, I'm going to be putting Psylocke. Psylocke is just a massive alt farmer. Like I find when I play her, I just feel like I'm always saying like, oh my god, like she has an alt again. Like literally every minute she's got an alt. So she farms her alt charge really good. She's very good at um, diving and getting your backline and kind of going invisible and popping up out of nowhere. And she can, if you're very effective at her and you've put the hours in and you know the combos, she's really, really good at bursting your backline down and just throwing that alt down. Like I said, every minute there's another alt from her. So yeah, I'd put her there in A, and above Psylocke, I'm gonna be putting Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is still a very effective healer. Can heal with no aim because it's automatic, and she has her bubble heal, which you can throw down kind of on the area where everybody's fighting, keep people sustained. Throw down her healing wall that she projects, and I do like that she can phase between, her and Cloak and kind of go between healing and DPS. So it's really just all about your timing and knowing when to phase between them. She's got a very, very effective ult that lays down healing and DPS all over the map. I do find it's best because she gets countered by mag so easily to turn to Cloak before you execute the ult, because that little bit of time it takes you to shift between them makes a huge difference. Like if you're finishing your ult and your Cloak, you can pretty much do your invisibility technique instantly, and you can dodge Magneto's ult sometimes that way. or if you just run as you're doing your ult at the very last part, you kind of run into a building or underneath something. That's another way as well to avoid the Magneto ult. But really, yeah, her biggest problem is Magneto. It's definitely Magneto. Okay, so after Cloak and Dagger, I'm going to be putting Deadpool Healer. There we go, Strategist Deadpool. Yeah, definitely put him above the Duelist Deadpool. Um, similar to the Duelist Deadpool, his sword throw is the biggest thing. You want to get that upgraded as soon as possible, because then it starts proccing and he just starts throwing it one after the other. Has a great AoE healing to it. Like a Luna, his healing is a little challenging because you have to have good aim. It doesn't automatically target like Cloak and Dagger. He has a good AoE healing. He has a good sword throw healing, and he does decent damage as well. So, yeah, I think he's one of the better versions of Deadpool, but I wouldn't say the best. All right, so after Deadpool, I'm going to be putting Jeff. My name Jeff. Jeff, ooh, not S tier. Jeff is still really, really effective. Like, if you're hitting the ult properly and you're gobbling up the enemy team at key moments, like most of the games I lose, it's because of a Jeff, like a Jeff ult. His healing is still really good. His bubbles, if you're employing them properly, and he has incredible movement. He's very, very hard to dive because he can just throw a bubble, go underground with the shark fin ability and move really quickly, then bubble and do it again. Really, really hard to catch, and just devastating, completely devastating ult, and also really good ult when paired with Storm as well. All right, so after Jeff, I'm going to be putting Rocket, Mr. Rocket Raccoon. Rocket is still the easiest healer to play in the game. You could literally sit from like football fields back with Rocket and just spam healing orbs. I wouldn't suggest you play like that. I think you do need to balance his healing with his damage and know when to use his gun, because his gun can really burst anyone down really if you catch them out of positioning. It's very effective against Vanguards as well if they go a little too far up. And he has a really good ult, which basically overshields and provides additional damage boost. So Rocket is a solid pick for a healer and a very easy one to play if you're struggling with the strategist class in general. And you can just run up walls if people come at you and run away and grab the wall again and run and heal yourself. And he's just super annoying and hard to kill. Okay, after Rocket, I'm going to be putting Mantis. Mantis is a must for a triple support combo, usually involving a Loki and maybe a Gambit. But yeah, she does a lot of damage. She has a great sleep CC to cancel enemies' ults, to basically stall people that are trying to dive her. And she's one of the characters I have Lord on. I love playing Mantis. Just a great balance between healing and DPS, but you really have to be kind of on top of. You have to have really good battle awareness playing her, because you're doing damage, you're throwing heals, you're throwing buffs. You know who's got your heals, who's got your buffs. Just keeping a tab on everybody and who needs healing and what's going on while you're damaging is very, very difficult. I would say she's one of the harder characters to play. But yeah, I would say she's definitely a must on a trip support combo. After Mantis, we are going to go with Luna. Luna is still really dangerous DPS wise, like a Mantis would be, even though she's not considered a DPS style strategist. She's considered more of a pure healer. She does kind of fit in that same category as a Mantis for damage. If you've got the aim and you're hitting the headshots and you're hitting her freeze ability. And of course, she does have one of the longest circle healing ults in the game. I can't remember the exact length, like 12 seconds or something, but it's ridiculous. So she's definitely still at the top of the A tier, I would say. After Luna, this might be surprising, but I'm actually going to put this guy here, our favorite golden boy. Yeah, he's Adam Warlock has gotten a big buff with his ability to fly now, and I think it makes a huge difference. That was the one thing that was really missing from his kit, that made him very difficult to play, is he just had no ability to escape anything, and you kind of just had to take it on the chin, which he could do because he has his soul bond ability, which basically shares the damage between you and whoever else you've casted soul bond on. So not only does he still have that ability to take damage on the chin, like I think he can just full on eat a mag alt and not die if he's soul bonded, but he can now fly and get away as well. And he still does tremendous amounts of damage with his primary fire, which also recovers the cooldown on his heal. So he's, I think with this movement buff, I would actually rate him top of the A tier in terms of healers. All right, so moving on to our S tier. S tier. At the very bottom, I'm going to be putting Daredevil. Still super annoying dive. Every single move that he has gives him an overshield, which is kind of ridiculous. He can climb up walls, he can grapple to you, he can just kind of like, he can really just kind of harass your backline. And unlike, I would say, a Spider-Man or a Cap that harasses your backline with little amounts of damage, he does a ton of damage. Like, he will kill you. He will kill you. He might even kill a couple of you and still get away with it. So I put him pretty high. I put him in S tier because I do think he is still the best dive character in the game besides maybe Angela. And his ult is really effective as well, just that AoE damage. So yeah, I would put him bottom of S. Above Daredevil, I'm going to put Phoenix. Phoenix is, in my opinion, the new meta for sustain characters in this game. Her AoE just does so much damage with the fire ticks that she puts above your head whenever she hits you and builds up that charge. If you just put one tick on somebody, then cast your ult, you usually will kill them. Her ult is very devastating, does a huge AoE, can wipe out 2-3 people on the enemy team pretty reliably and consistently. And she has a lot of ability to get away from dive heroes via her teleport backwards and her Phoenix movement ability. She is, to me, Hela on crack, whereas Hela does a ton of damage, but you're just kind of trying to hit headshots, and it's just damage just from the primary damage. Hers is like Hela, but like with an AoE attached to it, which is insane. So you're not just doing damage to that target, you're doing damage to everybody around them too. For that reason, I do think she sits at the top of that sustain kind of poke style character class for Duelist, just like I would say Daredevil sits at the top of it for your dive sort of brawl style character. Okay, so moving on from those two, after Phoenix, I'm going to be putting Groot. Groot had a big buff to his, I think it's called Iron Wall, that makes him CC immune. He is, I think, the highest HP, most tanky style, I would say slowest tank in the game. So really, you've got to be very good with positioning. You don't want to get caught out with him. His walls are most effectively deployed behind enemies as you're attacking them to cut off heals from their healers and to kind of keep them from being able to retreat from the fight. So you definitely want to use it that way, as opposed to how I've seen a lot of people use it, which is to just throw it in front of your team, and which basically does nothing. It blocks the enemy team from hitting you, but also blocks you from hitting them. So you definitely want to kind of pick off people, throw walls behind them, and trap them. He has I would say one of the best ults in the game that kind of grabs in the entire enemy team, CCs them, and if you combo that with lots of different ults, but we'll just say as an example, Moon Knight, if he throws, Groot throws his ult, then Moon Knight throws his ult on top of it, that's an instant team wipe. I think maybe unless you have a Luna who pops her ult or some kind of a healing circle ult to counter it, it's really the only way that you're going to get out of that. Or Gambit with a cleanse, but you'd have to be really quick to pull that off. All right, so after Groot, I'm going to be putting Mag. Mag's been S tier the entire game. he's one of these characters that's just been solid and reliable. His alt completely counters Cloak and Dagger, counters a lot of different healers, and he can really just control the fight, controls a lot of space. His shield, now that he's got the buff where he can shield himself and shield somebody else, is crazy. Like, it's almost feels overpowered. But yeah, he can throw down 2 bubbles at once, does a ton of damage on his primary, does a ton of damage when he throws the ring on his back, and he's just always been a very consistent character. You can absorb a lot of ults with his shield wall as well as a shield bubble, rendering characters like Iron Man or Star-Lord pretty useless when they pop their ult. He's definitely one that you're going to see a lot in the higher ranks on ranked games. Alright, so after Mag, I'm going to be putting Deadpool, Vanguard. I do think that Deadpool Vanguard is worthy to be sitting in the S tier with the likes of Mag and Groot. That enhanced attack speed on his area of effect skill is very effective. You can shoot the pistols really quick, burst down an enemy super fast. He's near impossible to kill with the swords if you can pull off the sword alt and you can execute the combo correctly with the bonus HP and damage. And the fact that he's Vanguard and he sits at around, I think, 500 or 600 HP. And then he's got his unicorn plushie shield bubble, which if you upgrade also increases the radius of it. He's just a very well balanced, got a good amount of sustain and a good amount of brawl. And I specifically like the Vanguard class out of all his characters because of the bonus HP, and his survivability is much, much better than the Duelist or the Strategist version. Okay, so after Deadpool, I'm going to be putting Gambit. Gambit I still think is like a permaban in any ranked game. He like, I picked him up recently and he's just really hard. He's really, really hard to kill. He's got his kind of dash and his bow staff ability that can propel him like 30 or 40 yards instantly. It's very hard to miss with his healing ability because he's throwing 3 cards at once. He's got that cleanse, so you can cleanse your Groot alts, he can cleanse your sleeps, he can cleanse the Luna Freeze. And he's got, like, I would consider him like a Loki. He's like a 50% kind of DPSer, 50% healer. Yeah, just an amazing kit, and his alt does a super amount of damage. It really tilts the whole fight into your favor. Lastly, I'm going to be putting Elsa Bloodstone, and I will be putting her as the top of S tier because she is absolutely broken.